May is a brilliant time to be sowing seeds, but maybe you're asking yourself, what should I be sowing this month? Well, today that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about what to sow in May. Hey everyone, how's it going and welcome back. May is just a fantastic month for sowing seeds. There's no end to what you can choose to sow, and it feels now more than ever as the months have gone by from spring into winter that there's more and more that we can sow, which means that today is going to be a really busy episode and hopefully it'll give you some great ideas and inspiration. Strangely, it can feel a little bit like May is starting to get a bit late for sowing seeds, like if you didn't get all of your seeds sown back in March and April, that you're running behind. You really aren't. This is a brilliant month, particularly if you live in a cooler, more temperate climate like I do. Here in Ireland, our last frost date is about the middle of May, particularly in my local area. So with that cooler climate, this is the perfect time to be sowing seeds. So this comes with the usual warning. Make sure that you know and understand your own local climate conditions before you sow things, because obviously this may still be that little bit too early for you, depending on where you live. If it is just that little bit too early, consider, like I always recommend, taking these seed ideas but pushing their sowings to the back end of the month. So much of what we're sowing at the moment are for plants and crops that we're going to harvest during the summer and into the autumn, but now is also a brilliant time to be thinking about sowing plants that are going to mature so that you can harvest them during the winter, and if you're lucky, even into the very start of early spring. Now, I got a lot of inspiration for some of these from Hugh Richards' video. I'll make sure to link it up above. Go and check it out. Obviously, after you've watched the rest of this episode, he has some really good ideas for plants that you can sow now so that you can grow them on for winter harvests. I'm going to be mentioning some of those. I'm not growing all of the ones that he suggests, but where I do, I'll make sure to flag it as this is a really good winter crop to be sowing. Okay, so let's kick straight off with old favourites, brassicas. And to begin with, this is calabrese, or what I would think of here in Ireland as a broccoli. It's that big head of broccoli that most people would know from the supermarket. And this particular variety is Belstar F1. I sowed some of these a couple of months ago. I'm going to sow another batch this month, hopefully to give me a nice ongoing harvest once they start to mature. And then the next thing that I'm going to be sowing again as a successional sowing is cauliflower. This is cauliflower all year round. Again, the reason I'm doing multiple sowings is rather than having a glut, what I want is just a nice ongoing harvest. So I'm sowing little and often each month. So the next few things are really good winter vegetables to be sowing now so that you can mature them through the season and they'll be ready for the winter. The first one is kale. Now, you've heard me over the last few months talking about sowing kale to harvest as little baby leaves. Well, now I'm going to start sowing some of these to grow into full mature plants that can sit through the autumn and the winter, and I can start harvesting really mature kale leaves for cooking. Then the next thing, early purple sprouting broccoli. I sowed some of this a couple of months ago, but the bad news is if you watched my video last week, you'll have heard the disaster story about a whole load of my seedlings getting wiped out. It was my fault. Spoiler alert, I didn't open the door one morning and everything got cooked and a whole load of things got lost permanently. So I'm going to have to get some more early purple sprouting broccoli sown in May so that I have it for next year, because it'll start cropping early in the spring next year, all being well. And then the other thing that I lost that you can still sow now, however, Brussels sprouts. Get them in at the moment, let them mature, and you'll have a nice harvest for around Christmas time. So then the next two things are new to me, and you probably know me by now. I'm a bit of a sucker for trying something new, or particularly buying new seeds to try. And this first one is something that I can thank Liz Zorab for. Her seed sowing videos, which are monthly, are just fantastic. I'll link them up above. Really do make sure to go and check them out. I get a huge amount of inspiration from Liz in terms of things to try growing. And the first one here is broccoli rab. Now, I'd actually never even heard of it, let alone try it, but it seems like a really interesting thing to grow. It's going to mature, according to the packet, in about 60 days, which is really quick. And what you end up getting are little spears, a bit like sprouting broccoli. But what is odd about this is it's not actually a broccoli. According to the packet, it's more closely related to a turnip. So it'll be interesting to see how I get on with those. And then the other oddity that I'm going to try growing is kailan or kailan. This is kailan kichi or Chinese broccoli. I've talked about before really liking stir fries, and what's great about this is it's just a different type of vegetable that can be grown really quickly and then harvested and added into those stir fries. I'll let you know how I get on with these. Okay, that's all the brassicas discussed. Next thing, root veg and things that are like root veg. Now, the first thing that you can be sowing in May are radishes. They are going to crop really quickly for you, so they're a brilliant thing to direct sow into your vegetable beds in amongst other things, just to get that nice little bit of an extra summer crop. I'm growing 2 different varieties this year. The first one is Cherry Belle, which are lovely little globe-shaped pink radishes. And then the second one is French Breakfast, which are the more cylindrical types with the white ends. The next thing that I'm going to be sowing are turnips. Now, this is a specific turnip called Tokyo Cross. It produces about golf ball shaped pure white turnips that are apparently really flavoursome and really sweet. So I think they're going to be really nice just to grow so that they can be roasted. And these are really quite quick cropping as well. They're saying that they require only 30 to 60 days. So the turnaround time on these, well, promises to be really quite good. The other thing that I'm going to try sowing. Now, I have never tried sowing this, and I haven't even tried eating it or cooking it, and it's kohlrabi. Now, I have a packet of these. This is kohlrabi colibri. I'm going to give it a go. It's going to be great to add some variety into the veg garden, and I'll see how I get on with it, but definitely this is going to be an experiment. The next thing after that, these are all vegetables that are really good if you sow them now to be planning ahead so that you have them as a winter crop. The first one's kind of obvious, it's carrots, except now you want to be moving on onto a main crop carrot variety. This is Autumn King 2. And then good old-fashioned beetroot. I've been sowing this every month since January, mainly for the little leaves for salads, but now I'm going to be sowing these to mature into beetroot. Really easy to grow and really, really worthwhile because they're also really affordable. You get a lot of seeds in a packet. And then the last 2 things, parsnips. I talked about sowing these last month. 100% honesty, I didn't get around to sowing them. So these are going to be going into the bed this month, and these are going to mature through the year, and then I'll have them at the back end of the season. And then very closely related to parsnips, salsify. This is like the really cool, trendy cousin of parsnip, and I've wanted to try this for ages. This is one that Liz Zorab mentions, and this one is Salsify Sandwich Island. So I'm going to give this a go, and we'll see through the season just how well I get on with it. And that is all the root vegetables. Now, I do have a couple of things that don't really fit neatly into root vegetables or any other category. Corn and artichokes. So the artichoke, it's a perennial vegetable. If you want to buy one from the garden centre, they're actually quite expensive. So instead, I'm going to try growing some from seed. It just means it's going to take a bit longer for them to mature, but it's going to be really fun to try. This is artichoke Violette de Provence. You can start artichoke seeds now and then grow them onto maturity over the next couple of years. And then the other thing that you can sow in May is sweet corn. Now is a really good time to get it going. You can either start it in pots or you can sow it out direct, but either way it does need that little bit of heat just to get it going. I'm planning on sowing this in pots first before I plant it out, except I'm going with a mini corn or a baby corn, and this is sweet corn mini pop. The next group of seeds I'm going to talk about are seeds of things that I really think are pretty much no-brainers, providing obviously you like eating them, and that's things like cucumbers, courgettes, and squashes. So the first thing on my list is Courgette Ambassador. These are just brilliant plants to have. I've already sown some, and I've sown 6 seeds. Now, if you are going to be growing these, be careful how many plants you grow, because you're going to get a lot of courgettes off each one, and you could easily find yourself just basically coming down with loads and loads of courgettes and having to give them away to everybody. Although I've sown 6, that's more of a bit of an insurance policy. The plan really is that I'll probably grow about 3 plants. And then moving on to cucumbers, I'm growing 2 different types. So the first one is called Marketmore, and that's your typical run-of-the-mill cucumber, long, green. It's grand. I'll be growing some of those, but as well, I grow an unusual variety that's one of my absolute favourites, and it's this Crystal Lemon. They produce, rather than long green cucumbers, the plants produce small, spherical, yellow cucumbers that when you cut into them and then you eat them, they're really, really crunchy. Almost like that icy watermelon texture that you get, but with a really strong hit of cucumber. They are totally delicious, and I totally recommend that you try them, even just to have something as a novelty. They're also quite nice if you cut a little bit and drop it into your gin and tonic, if you like gin and tonics. Now, the next 2 seeds are new to me, so it's going to be a little bit of an experiment. I'm going to try and grow melons this year, and this is my favourite melon, which is Gallia. Now, I had always thought you couldn't grow melons and cucumbers in the same space, but according to the write-up for this, it's actually not that much of a problem. So I'm going to try it and I'll report back, and we'll see if it has any effects on the cucumbers, and more importantly, whether I actually manage to get some melons at the end of the season. And then finally, butternut squashes. I love eating butternut squash, whether it's roasted or blended into soup, and apparently they're really easy to grow. So this is winter squash, or butternut squash Hunter, and I'm going to be trying this year. Really looking forward to giving this a go, and this is something else that you can be sowing in May. May is a brilliant time to be sowing your peas and beans and legumes, except rather than sowing early peas, it's now time to really be sowing main crop peas. And the pea that I'm growing and sowing this month is P. Hurst Greenshaft. Just a very standard pea, but I really do like having just peas that you can shell. But alongside that, to give myself a little bit of variety in the veg garden, I'm also going to be sowing this, which is a Mange 2 pea, and it's called Spring Blush. So I'm hoping that between those 2, I'll just have that nice mixture and that nice extra bit of variety. The next thing then, broad beans. Now this is broad bean the Sutton, which I've talked about over the last couple of months, and I did sow some a while back, and they were victims to the terrible polytunnel incident. So thankfully, I had decided to successionally sow them and divided the seeds in 2. And I've got the other half of them. So I'm going to be sowing them in May. And then the final bean that I'm choosing to sow is this, which is a French climbing bean. It's a Borlotti bean called Stocky Witzboon. And that means I'm going to have fresh peas, fresh broad beans, but I'm also going to hopefully have a supply of nice Borlotti beans that I can mature and then let them dry and have them through the winter. May is a fantastic time to be sowing seeds of anything that's sort of leaves or salads or anything like that. And the seed that I'm going to kick off with is one that is also good to be sowing now to have at the back end of the season way into autumn and winter, and that's chard. Now, I've been sowing some of these already to use in salads, but now I'm going to continue to sow them, except now they're going to be plants that I'm going to let mature, and I'll grow them as proper chard. And I'm growing a couple of different types. The first one is a rainbow chard, and then the other one is one called Pink Flamingo with lovely pink stems. I've got loads of seeds of those, so I'll be starting both of those off. And then the next thing I'm going to continue sowing is this bok choy, and this is tri-coloured mix, which has 3 different types in it. I'm going to be direct sowing some more of these into the veg garden, and then hopefully having a nice ongoing supply of nice, well, they're Chinese leaves for things like stir fries. After that then, and I know it's not really a leaf, but it kind of goes together with all of these kind of things, and it's spring onions. Typical white Lisbon. I always make sure to successionally sow this stuff. It's really good to have that ongoing supply. I generally don't eat a lot of onions, so it's quite handy to have spring onions that you can add into things. And then we're on to all of the salad leaves. Now, at the moment, I'm sticking with a fairly standard mix of leaves that I'm not changing around that much, but what it does do is it gives me a really nice mix and match set of leaves that I can pick as and when I want for my salads. Wild Rocket, that's the first thing I'm growing. I really recommend this. It's the kind of thing that's expensive to buy in the supermarket, but is really easy to grow, and it gives, whether it's salads or pizzas or pastas, that extra bit of pep, an extra bit of fire. Alongside that then is just a standard lettuce, and what I've been growing is salad bowl. You can continue to sow your salad leaves this month, and they're going to do really nicely, and they should mature nice and quickly for you. Spinach. I grow two different types of spinach. This is spinach Medania, and then next to it is also spinach beet or perpetual spinach. I'm not a big fan of spinach once the leaves get really, really big, so you generally end up having little plants that produce nicer leaves. So I'm going to continue to sow those so that I have a nice ongoing supply of small plants with small leaves that I can use. And then we're on to two more types of leaves that I really love in salads. First one, corn salad or lamb's lettuce. There's just something really, really lovely about these. I could eat it all day long, and I think it makes a salad really special, and I can totally recommend growing some lamb's lettuce. From experience, they're really, really easy to grow. And then the final thing to pull all of this together is a very simple salad mix. This is a Tuscan leaf salad mix. It's just a standard mix that comes from the seed company. Go out yourself and have a look and pick one with a nice mix of leaves that you will like. It's really good just to bulk up your salad leaves with a nice mix. And then, like I said earlier, you have exactly that, a nice mix where you can mix and match the salad that you want, whatever mood you're in. So we've discussed all of the leaves and salad leaves, and now on to my favorite section of these videos, which is the if you sow nothing else, sow these. And I'm cheating again. I'm never sticking to my own rules. This is not one type of seed, it's a group, and it's herbs. And that's because for me, abundance in the garden or in the vegetable garden isn't sheer quantity. What it is about getting something that either you feel like you've saved some money compared to the supermarket, or you have something that makes any dish feel that little bit special, or maybe it's growing something that you can't easily get hold of. And for me, growing your own herbs really ticks those boxes. Now, what I'm growing this year is quite a small selection, but it's a selection of all of my favorites. And they're all of the real traditional herbs, I suppose. The first one is moss curled parsley. And then along with that, chives. And then oregano. And in fact, these are some oregano plants that I sowed earlier on in the season, and you can see how quickly they come on. Along with that, I'm going to start sowing some coriander, which is really nice in any kind of Asian dish. And I'm also going to be sowing some flat leaf parsley as well, just to add a little bit extra variety into the mix. But the main thing is there are so many different types of herbs, and they're so easy to grow, that really, if you sow nothing else, make sure to sow some herbs, because you don't even need a veg garden to grow them. You can see they grow perfectly nicely in a pot, and they're just going to give you something really special that you've grown yourself, that you can harvest, and that you can enjoy in your own cooking. Phew. Okay, we're nearly at the end of the list for May. It's a bumper month, isn't it? And the last thing that I'm going to talk about is actually a whole group of different seeds, because I think they're really important to be sowing as well. But I'm not going to go into a whole load of specific varieties, so let's get them out of the seed box. And they're not edibles, they're flowers. Now, last month in my seed sowing video for April, I talked about the flower types that I'm going to be sowing and growing in the garden this year. If you haven't already seen that, I'll link it up above so that you can go and check it out. But the big thing is that it's still not too late to be sowing your flower seeds. Now, obviously, you could go out to the garden centre and buy some baby plants that are going to be a little bit further on, or you could still sow some yourself. And really, they just, for me, elevate any place. Even if you just put in a couple of simple little flowers, it really just lifts it. So get out, get yourself some nice annual seeds, pick something that you really like, whether it's marigolds or echinacea or something like that, and get sowing. But there is one specific flower that I want to talk about, which is a little bit of a curveball, but I really like it. Wallflowers. Now, at the moment, I've got wallflowers and they are in full flower. They're out at the front of the house and I weave them in amongst tulips. But what's great about these is that they bulk out a bed during the winter when really it can be a little bit empty and a little bit sad. But the thing you need to be aware of is that now is the time to be sowing these in May because they're biennials. Sow them now and you'll grow them on into plants, little plants that you can then transplant all around your garden to give it that extra little bit of bulk during the winter months. The plants sit pretty dormant during the winter and then come early spring, they kick off again, they start growing, and then around April time, certainly April time here in Ireland, they're going to start flowering, and it's getting that early colour that's really good. Now, I think you could put these in a veg garden as well, obviously in beds that you're not covering for the winter, but anything that provides a nice little bit of foliage cover and then gives you some colour is really good. Now, this is Monarch Fair Lady. It's a whole mix of different colours, but you can see that particularly with wallflowers, you get these lovely pale, sort of creamy colours, yellows, oranges, and dark reds. These are brilliant value plants to have and definitely worth sowing. So get yourself out and get some wallflowers. As you can see, in May, it is just such a great, exciting time to be sowing seeds and growing on plants. And you can see just the breadth of what you can grow at the moment. So hopefully this video has given you a little bit of inspiration for things you can grow, whether you're brand new to seed sowing and growing plants, or whether you're an experienced gardener that is already growing a whole load of these, but maybe I've suggested just one or two things that you might try this year. Hopefully you've enjoyed all of it. But as ever, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and also hit the bell so that you'll be notified when I post my next video. And until next time, see you later.